Hey everyone, so in this tutorial I'm going to show you guys how I edit vertical sermon recaps for Instagram Reels. In this video I'm going to be using Davinci Resolve, and Davinci Resolve is a free editing software where they have a free version but they also have a studio version that's $295. So the free version has some features and the studio version has all of the features included. I'll be using the studio version in this video, but I'm pretty sure all the tools that I'm going to use are also found in the free version. So let's jump right in. Alright, so the first thing you want to do is create a new project in Davinci Resolve. As you can see, I've already done that, made sure that I labeled it so that I can come back to the project at any time. And you want to make sure that your project settings are good. So I came in and made sure I shot in 4K, so I made sure that this was 2160 by 3840 so that it's vertical. And then I imported all of my footage into the media bin. Then the next step is selecting the section of the sermon that you want to recap. So you'll need to go through your footage and hopefully you've shot to edit. So in the service, you're really focused in and you're seeing what points that the preacher has made that would be good to recap, that would be like his main point or the message that he was trying to convey in the service. And so you'll kind of keep those in the back of your head like, okay, this moment is the moment that should be recapped that kind of encapsulates the whole service. So if you've shot to edit, then you'll kind of know what clips do you want to use already when you get into the editing room. So what I've done is I've went through the footage and I have a section that I've pulled out that I want to be the reel, the recap, etc. So I put that on my timeline, and in-camera audio was pretty terrible. So what I do to get really good audio is I go find that section of the sermon on the live stream and I just screen record on my phone, which basically when you screen record, it captures the audio from the live stream. So I find the section that I'm using for the recap and I just screen record that on my phone, import that into Davinci Resolve, and then I just match the audio up. And the way that you can do that is just zoom in a little bit here. And so I open both waveforms and then just find a section where the waveforms are bigger and more spread out. And then I just line them up and keep playing it back to make sure that the audio matches with the video at this point. And then I mute in-camera audio so we don't have to worry about it anymore. Then my next step in the process is I find a song. So I've already searched through because that takes me a very long time, so I didn't want you guys to have to sit through that whole process. But I go to Artlist, which is what I use for royalty-free music, and I'll have the message in mind, and sometimes I'll play it simultaneously, but I listen for a song that adds to and doesn't distract from the message. So you want a song that really helps the viewer feel what the preacher is saying, what the message is that he's trying to convey. You want a song that brings the emotion to the video. So I found a song that does that for this particular message. So basically what I'm going to do is I put it on my timeline down here. And so we're just going to kind of play this and see how this fits with the sermon so far.
I know there's some in here that are struggling today. Oh, you have a deeper struggle that you've had in a long time. And the enemy of your soul has been lying to you. Lying. He's a deceiver. Even putting into question your faith.
Okay, so the reason I picked this song is because it has this kind of somber, very low feeling, because the way he starts out is in this very low, kind of deep place in the message. And so I wanted a song that wasn't just all, like really dynamic and playing in the background, because I wanted it to be slow and kind of feel where he's at in the message. So that intro is perfect. I like that. So let's scrub through. He stays pretty low until this point right here.
So the pain, getting ready to walk out on God. But let not your heart be troubled.
So what I did there is it kind of worked out perfectly, which it doesn't always. And sometimes you have to splice up your music so that it really aligns with the dynamic of the video. But with this song, it hits this kind of high point, and I'll solo this so that you can hear it. So it's low here, and then it hits this peak. It kind of brings in a little bit more of the elements of the song, and it also hits this point where he is on a higher note.
God, but let not your heart be troubled.
And so that plays in perfectly together if you listen to it.
Getting ready to walk out on God, but let not your heart be troubled.
And then there's that pause where you can really feel the music right after this impactful point that he's making.
I've come to lift the weary here today. Oh, I feel the Holy Ghost. I've come to strengthen the weak here this morning. Let not your heart be troubled. I don't know what symptoms of your body is weighing on your mind, but let not your heart be troubled. I don't know what financial crisis looms over you, but let not your heart be troubled.
Okay, and so then the music kind of plays out a bit longer than the sermon, which we can do several things here. We can trim the song to really fit exactly where he ends, or if we want to dramatically end with like some worship clips, then we can let that song fade out, which I think is what I'm going to do in this instance, to kind of let what he's saying really resonate. So let's see if we can get to a good ending point with this song. I'm going to move these clips over so that I can kind of focus on the end of this. Okay, so that kind of sounds like it might be a good place to fade out. So I'm just going to trim it there. And by the way, a keyboard shortcut in Davinci for the blade tool is B. So I'll be switching between B and A, which is the selection tool, quite a bit. So then what I'm going to do is just fade this audio out and kind of see how that sounds. And I like that. It fades out pretty nice. So basically, I kind of want his last words to kind of echo. So I'm going to come over here to his last section and I'm going to drop this down to the next track. Expand that. And then find his. Let's zoom in here.
But let not your heart.
And then, so I'm going to trim right here. Duplicate this down. I'm going to add reverb to this. So I'm going to hop over to the Fairlight tab, go to the effects library, reverb, and we're going to put that there. And I have kind of a setting that just like maxes out the reverb, but I'm going to dial back the dry and wet. So basically dry and wet is how much reverb versus the dry audio that there is in the mix. So you can have just the reverb or you can have just your dry audio, and then this is the mix of the two. So I'm just kind of bring that in, and let's just kind of see how that sounds.
Let your heart be troubled.
Okay, we're going to need to really boost that a little. And another trick for this is I'm going to try this. So let's make this a compound clip. And then I'm going to open in timeline. I'm going to duplicate it again, mute this channel, and extend it. And now we're going to add the reverb to that. So let me go back to Fairlight. So I'm going to add the reverb to this clip. This top clip. Come back to the edit page, and then we're going to go back to our timeline here at the bottom, and I'm going to leave this back out so that it doesn't have a cut on it, and then just fade
Let not your heart be troubled.
Yeah, I like that. So if you listen to just the preaching,
But let not your heart be troubled.
I'm going to fade this in just a hair.
But let not your heart be troubled.
Yeah, I like that. And then let's bring this up so we can see our music a bit more. Alright, so let's see what that sounds like with the
Mind, but let not your heart be troubled. I don't know what financial crisis looms over you, but let not your heart be troubled.
Yeah, I like it. And then we can also extend this.
But let not your heart be troubled.
I like it. So what I'm going to do is go back in, and I think I want to back this section up just a hair. Just give that a little bit of room, and then go back to the timeline. Just bring that in a bit sooner. Make sure we line that back up. And now let's give it a listen.
Looms over you, but let not your heart be troubled.
I like it. And I'm gonna kind of bring up the music there to finish it out. So we'll just kind of ramp this back in, setting a couple of keyframes just to boost it a hair. And then fades out. And to make that a little bit smoother, you can bring this down just to kind of curve your ease out. Like it. Alright, so we've got our sermon section pretty much together now with the song. So the next step, and I think this is really important, is to put captions, because a lot of people will watch Instagram Reels, but they won't watch it with sound on. So if you have captions, you can still make an impact on people that watch it without the sound turned on. So to do captions, I do them the hard way, so no judgment. This is just how I've been doing them for a while now. I know in Premiere Pro, I believe, it does the captions kind of like automatically now. It has like a voice to text or something that it can do. But this is just the long way that I do it that I'm used to. So I'm gonna pull a custom title over. I'm gonna zoom in a little here. And I have a font that I love that's Akira Expanded. Gonna dial that down a hair or 3. And now we're ready to do our captions. So this is just a long process of cutting through each section of the sermon, finding what he's saying, and typing it out. This is pretty straightforward. So I'm just going to jump in and do that. So this is just a lot of stop and go.
I know there's some in here that are struggling today.
I'm going to cut there. And he says...
I know there's some in here that are struggling today.
And I like to go ahead and all caps because that makes this easier. Caps lock. I'm gonna bring this up.
I know there's some in here that are
I'm gonna say
that are struggling today.
cut that there. I like to keep it to 2 lines, but that's totally I like to keep it to 2 lines, but that's totally personal preference. Wow.
I know there's some in here that are struggling today. Oh, you have a deeper struggle that you've had in a long time. Oh, you have a deeper struggle. Oh, you have a deeper struggle that you've had in a long time. And
Let's see, right before he says his next one.
that you've had in a long time. And the enemy of your soul has been lying to you.
Let's keep that at 2.
And the enemy of your soul has the devils.
Let's see what that looks like.
And the enemy of your soul has been lying to you. Lying, he's a deceiver.
Spell check is big with this.
Lying, he's a deceiver. Even
I'm gonna just bump this this over.
Even putting into question your faith.
And got there.
Even putting into question your faith. You don't believe in God. You don't believe in God. He didn't show up when you needed him.
That one went a little bit over. So just rearrange that.
He didn't show up when you needed him. He's not alive. He shouldn't have let so-and-so die. He's not alive.
I'm going to cut before that. So let's see.
He's not alive. He shouldn't have let so-and-so die.
So we'll just add dashes for good measure.
He's not alive. He shouldn't have let so-and-so die. He shouldn't let that marriage fall apart. He shouldn't let that marriage fall apart. He shouldn't let that marriage
Apart.
He shouldn't let that marriage fall apart. He should have saved your ministry. He should have saved your ministry. And here you are. And here you are, soaking in your pain, getting ready.
Let's do that.
Soaking in your pain. Soaking in your pain, getting ready to walk out on God.
Oh, let's adjust that. Let's see.
Getting ready to walk out on God. But let not your heart be troubled.
And sometimes for like a really important point, I'll do the words like individual, just kind of makes it more impactful. So I'm going to do that here. So let's see.
Getting ready to walk out on God. But
So this is where you need to kind of zoom in and kind of base it off of your waveforms. So each word trim right before. So this one was, but,
let not
we'll go right here in between.
let not your heart.
And I'll do your heart together because it's kind of quick.
Your heart be troubled.
And then we'll do troubled by itself. Be
troubled.
We'll leave that until. So let's do troubled. And let's see what that looks like.
But let not your heart be troubled.
Make sure that it kind of lines up with the beats right there.
Oh God, but let not your heart be.
I think I'm going to split up your heart.
Not your heart be troubled.
So let's do this as your. And then we'll swap this one to heart. Just to kind of make it a little bit more impactful. So let's see what that looks like.
But let not your heart be troubled.
Yeah, I like it. Alright, and then. Alright, so let's go to the next section.
Come to lift the weary here today. Oh, I feel the Holy Ghost. Come to lift the weary here today. Oh.
We'll pause right there.
come to lift the weary here today. Oh, I feel the Holy Ghost. I've come. Oh, I feel the Holy Ghost. I've come to strengthen the weak here this morning. I've come to strengthen the weak.
That's a bit long. We'll put that online. Let's see what that looks like.
I've come to strengthen the weak here this morning. Here this morning. Let not your heart be troubled.
And with this one, I'm just going to leave it all together. So,
let not your heart be troubled. I don't know what symptoms of your body is weighing on your. I don't know what symptoms of your body is. Body.
we'll cut that there. That may not fit. So let's see.
I don't know what symptoms of.
We'll cut there. So we'll do just symptoms by itself.
What symptoms of your body is weighing on your mind.
And we'll just drag this over. Let's see.
Of your body is weighing on your mind, but let not your heart be troubled.
Alright, we'll cut there.
But let not your heart be troubled. I don't know what financial crisis looms. Crisis.
We'll cut there.
I don't know what financial crisis looms over you, but
And we'll cut there.
crisis looms over you, but let not your heart.
Alright, we'll do the singles here again.
But let.
So let's do.
But let. Let not your.
So this one supposed to be your. This one's supposed to be heart. And then be troubled.
But let not your heart.
And then I'm just gonna fade this out. Okay. Alright, so we've got our captions. Always make sure that you spell check and all the good things. So now I'm just gonna make a few final tweaks. So I'm going to zoom this in a bit and kind of rescale this just to be a bit tighter. And let's hop over and give it a quick color grade. I love phantom LUTs. So phantom LUTs basically take your log footage to Rec 709 and adds a custom grade all in one. So I'm gonna go down, and I know for my church's lighting, one of these kind of works best, which is this Utopia. So I'm just gonna throw that on, and then I always put that on a second node, and on this first node, I do like basic corrections. So it's a tad warm, so I'm just gonna cool it off a hair. Kind of bring down just a little bit of the gain, just to kind of take the heat off of his forehead there. It's a bit shiny. Boost the mids of the gamma. smidge. And because the walls of our church are tan, I usually bring those down. So I'm going to head over here to curves and click through to the hue versus sat, which is the hue versus saturation. So I'm just going to kind of select these wall hues, which are kind of these two. You can also kind of see that's your strongest color there. And then I'm just going to kind of pull these down. You have to be careful with this not to interfere with your skin tones. So just kind of watch what you're pulling down. You don't want to mess with these too much. But I like to bring back the wall just a hair. And then that looks honestly pretty good to me. Just going to add a little bit of contrast so that it's kind of popping. And kind of scrub through and see what it looks like at some different points. I like it. Alright, so let's hop back over here to the timeline. And I may reframe this just a hair based on text. Zoom it in just a bit more. Has just a smidge of rotation. So I'm just going to kind of correct that. And kind of click through. So that was kind of a higher section. Alright, so let's give this a watch and kind of see what we have as a sermon recap so far. And I'll make this big.
I know there's some in here that are struggling today. Oh, you have a deeper struggle that you've had in a long time. And the enemy of your soul has been lying to you. Lying, he's a deceiver. Even putting into question your faith. You don't believe in God. He didn't show up when you needed him. He's not alive. He shouldn't have let so-and-so die. He shouldn't let that marriage fall apart. He should have saved your ministry. And here you are, soaking in your pain, getting ready to walk out on God. But let not your heart be troubled. I've come to lift the weary here today. Oh, I feel the Holy Ghost. I've come to strengthen the weak here this morning. Let not your heart be troubled. I don't know what symptoms of your body is weighing on your mind, but let not your heart be troubled. I don't know what financial crisis looms over you, but let not your heart be troubled.
Okay, so I've noticed a few things. Number one, the music kind of overtakes a bit at the beginning. So let's move this up so we can see our audio. And then the music kind of comes in dramatically there at the end. So I want to kind of smooth that area out. So what I'm going to do is bring this back a bit. Keep that back about where it was. And we're going to ramp this in further down and not as much. So let's kind of see if that's a little bit more gentle. So I might even bring that down a hair more. Much smoother. And I almost want you to really hear his voice here. So I'm going to set a keyframe here and kind of ramp this up at the end so that you kind of really hear that. So let's see what that sounds like.
But let not your heart be troubled.
So that's a little bit more dramatic. And then I also noticed, so let's zoom out. So here at the beginning, the music was kind of overtaking because his voice is so low. So let's make sure that our music decibel levels are hitting a bit lower than our vocals.
I know there's some in here that are struggling today. Oh, you have a deeper struggle that you've had in a long time.
So we're hitting about here for him, and so let's kind of see. I'm just going to expand this over so that we can see both. So our music
The enemy
and our
of your
voice.
soul has been lying to you. Lying, he's a deceiver. Even putting into question your faith. You don't believe in God. He didn't show up when you needed him.
So So that's kind of where his voice is a bit lower. So I'm just going to come in and kind of do a keyframe here so that I can kind of bring up this section in between these two keyframes. So then we'll just set one that's a bit higher. And right here, he kind of peaks out. So we'll just bring this section down. Just gonna kind of do a little peak here, and then we'll see if that sounds natural.
Even putting into question your faith. You don't believe in God. He didn't show up when you needed him. He's not alive. He shouldn't have let so-and-so die. He shouldn't let that marriage fall apart. He should have saved your ministry.
So that's better. But I'm going to move this down a bit.
You don't believe in God. He didn't show up when you needed him. He's not alive. He shouldn't have let so-and-so die. He shouldn't let that marriage fall apart. He should have saved your ministry. And here you are, soaking in your pain, getting ready to walk out on God. But let not your heart be troubled. I've come to lift the weary here today. Oh, I feel the Holy Ghost. I've come to strengthen the weak here this morning.
So I'm gonna boost that section just a hair. So let's do a keyframe here and then just ever so slightly. Now let's see.
Getting ready to walk out on God. But let not your heart be troubled. I've come to lift the weary here today.
So that boosted it just a hair. Alright, so what we have so far, this is an awesome sermon recap, in my opinion. So one thing that we can do to take it to just the next level is to kind of add some worship clips on top that really kind of accent the message and what he's talking about, and so that you can see those emotions that you feel from the message. So I've already kind of selected out several worship clips of people praying and different shots that I got during the service. We happened to have a prayer line during this service where we had Reverend Nelson Rivera with us. And so these are not your typical worship clips because we had a prayer line, but they still can go along and showcase the message. So basically I've went ahead and cut out the best parts of each clip, the moments that were, the best of each one. And so now I'm just going to kind of go through and see where I feel like each clip will kind of add to the message and not distract from what he's saying. So I'm just going to kind of go through, and wherever it kind of feels right with each visual, I'm going to kind of just place each clip along the top of his message. So let's zoom in a bit. I'm going to move my clips over and then just kind of start trying clips in different spots and kind of see how they feel.
I know there's some in here that are struggling today.
I feel like it might need something at the open. So let's kind of look through our clips here. I kind of like this one where it kind of reveals. So I'm going to drag this one over and just kind of see what this looks like. So that's where the first music hit is, so I think I'm going to end it there. So just a very quick opener that kind of grabs attention and switches quickly to the preacher. Alright, so we're going to... And this is good to look at your audio track for this. So you're looking for this first beat right here, and then I'm just going to trim to that area.
I know there's some in here that are struggling today. Oh, you have a deeper struggle that you've had in a long time. And the enemy of your soul has been lying to you.
Okay, so I like that opener. So let's kind of just look through some of our clips here. Just kind of scanning through, seeing what I've got. Alright, and then kind of see where we're at.
That are struggling today. Oh, you have a deeper struggle that you've had in a long time. And the enemy of your soul has been lying to you.
Because I feel like there might be one there. So let's find one where. Let's try this one. So let's find out where that was.
The enemy of your soul has been lying to you.
I feel like that's where it needs to hit.
Lying, he's a deceiver. Even putting into question your faith.
So
lying, he's a deceiver.
I'm gonna stretch that out a bit.
Lying, he's a deceiver. Even putting into question your faith. You don't believe in God. He didn't show up when you needed him. He's not alive. He shouldn't have let so-and-so die. He shouldn't let that marriage fall apart. He should have saved your ministry. And here you are, soaking in your pain, getting ready to walk out on God. But let not your heart be troubled.
And then in this open space, I'm gonna put some. So let's do. I'm just kind of seeing which ones feel right.
I've come to lift the.
And then I'm gonna do. Yeah, let's try this together.
Be troubled. I've come to lift the weary here today. Oh, I feel the Holy Ghost.
And let's make sure that all lands on the beat. And so you can kind of see with this clip, it does it naturally.
Trouble.
Beat. His hand placement.
I've come to lift the weary here today. Oh, I feel the Holy Ghost.
So this would be where we switch or cut. So it's
I've come to lift the weary here today. Oh, I feel the Holy Ghost.
right there. I'm just gonna cut back to him for this.
I've come to strengthen the weak here this morning. Let not.
And then I'm gonna do one here. Let's do. Just finding different ones. This one.
Let not your heart be troubled. I don't know what symptoms of your body is weighing on.
All right, so let's kind of play with this a bit more.
Strengthen the weak.
Then I'm gonna move it here.
I've come to strengthen the weak here this morning. Let not your heart be troubled. I don't know what's
And I'm gonna let it end there. So I'm gonna leave this one
here
out.
this morning. Let not your heart be troubled. I don't know what symptoms of your body is weighing on.
And then let's do one here.
On your mind, but let not your heart.
Make sure we cut on a beat.
But let not your heart be.
And a good rule of thumb is to cut just like a hair before the actual beat. It makes it kind of flow more seamlessly.
Is weighing on your mind, but let not your heart be troubled. I don't know what final.
So then I'm gonna do two back to back there. So
But let not your heart be troubled. I don't know what. But let not your heart be troubled. I don't know what.
So the chords here are a bit different. So I'm gonna solo the music just so I can hear where the hits are. Okay, so that one kind of changes a bit differently is why it sounds weird. So I'm gonna cut right there where it ramps up. And kind of switch between angles too so that it doesn't just look the same each time. So let's see what that looks like. And then I'm gonna cut again quickly. Just gonna move these in closer. And let's turn the audio back on.
I've come to strengthen the weak here this morning. Let not your heart be troubled. I don't know what symptoms of your body is weighing on your mind, but let not your heart be troubled. I don't know what financial crisis looms over you, but let not your heart be troubled.
And I'm gonna do a hit here. So let's just see what this looks like to end it and then fade this out to black. Okay, so let's delete this and kind of watch this end section. Okay, so I'm actually going to bring this clip back and kind of put it on this first beat that we have. So he says,
but let not your heart be troubled. Your heart.
That's this beat right here.
But let not your heart be troubled.
Okay, I like it. So all we gotta do now is color grade these underline clips that we just added. So I'm going to come over here to the one we already color graded, Command C to copy those settings, Command V to paste those settings on Mac, of course. It would be like Control C and Control V, I think, on PC. And then I'm just going to make some little final adjustments to each clip. So this is obviously really dark, also really contrasty. So I'm going to bring the contrast back a bit, boost the gamma in our primaries wheels. Bring this up a hair, just boost that a bit more. Now I'm going to copy and paste that setting. That's going to be closer.
Lying, he's a deceiver.
That looks good. I'm going to scroll through to all of these. Just kind of make little adjustments as needed. This one's a bit dark. I can bring back some of these highs for this one. And these final clips, just keep going through, making some adjustments. This one's a bit saturated, so I'm just going to bring that down ever so slightly, just so that his face is not quite as red. To a good section of this one, just kind of boost that a bit. And for this final clip, just bring that up. And now let's just watch it through and see if there's any final adjustments that we need to make.
I know there's some in here that are struggling today. Oh, you have a deeper struggle that you've had in a long time. And the enemy of your soul has been lying to you. Lying, he's a deceiver. Even putting into question your faith. You don't believe in God. He didn't show up when you needed him. He's not alive. He shouldn't have let so-and-so die. He shouldn't let that marriage fall apart. He should have saved your ministry. And here you are, soaking in your pain, getting ready to walk out on God. But let not your heart be troubled. I've come to lift the weary here today. Oh, I feel the Holy Ghost. I've come to strengthen the weak here this morning. Let not your heart be troubled. I don't know what symptoms of your body is weighing on your mind, but let not your heart be troubled. I don't know what financial crisis looms over you, but let not your heart be troubled.
And that's basically how you make a sermon recap in Davinci Resolve. A lot of this is personal preference. This is just kind of my process and how I go through it. The clips that I pick out, the parts of the message that I pick out, and then how I put those together. I really want the viewer to feel the message because this is a ministry, and every reel that you post is an outlet into your community, and it's a way to reach people and get the message out to thousands of people online. And so each one I put a lot of thought into. These are not just meant to be hype videos, they're not just meant to be cool, but they're meant to convey a message. So if that means using a clip that's not as great as this other clip, but it conveys the message more, then I think that's where the sacrifices can be made to truly get the message across to the community wherever you live. So this was just a little bit of my process and how I go about editing reels in Davinci Resolve, and I really hope this helps you guys, and I will see you in the next tutorial.